And can I ask our three speakers now to perhaps come to the front? We're going to have a panel discussion and question and answer session now. And I'd also like to welcome to the panel Paul Willis, who's head of the Insight and Peer Analysis practice at Grant Thornton, and has been working in this area for 23 years in total, I think, according to here. All the speaker biographies, I should say, are in your packs, so I'm not going to go through those in detail. Suffice it to say that all four of our panelists have very distinguished biographies in this field. And before we go to the audience question and answer, perhaps, Paul, could I just ask you to comment on what you've heard and any particular striking facts or insights you've heard, and how you'd relate that to your own experience working with a wide range of banks and financial services organisations?
Delighted to. First of all, the green button. Can't see it yet. Do I just push it? Marvellous. Excellent. Can you hear me? Fantastic. There's a whole number of things that resonated with me over the course of those presentations, and I think I'll draw probably three areas out. The first would be around open channels. Now, I came up here today on the plane from London, and I had a bit of a nightmare getting through Heathrow, Terminal 5. And I sat down, and just before I turned the phone off, there was a bing. And I looked at the smartphone before I turned it off. It was from British Airways asking me to comment on my experience going through the custom, through security. So naturally, I gave a really nasty response because I wasn't best chuffed. But I think what it demonstrates is in everyday life now, firms legitimately going out to their customers on a minute-by-minute basis at an appropriate time to get and solicit and achieve feedback. Now that is something that... that's okay. All the feedback in the world. But that is something very much that ourselves within financial services have actually been very, very bad at. So if I just give you a very quick example on that. About 12 months ago, I was doing quite a substantial complaints review into a bank that will remain nameless. And I spoke to the head of complaints then and said, well, as part of this review, we'd very much like to see what your customer feedback information is like across the whole gambit, the whole complaints journey. And she looked at me sort of slightly inquisitively and said, well, we haven't actually done any research for about 15, 16 months. And my response to me was, well, why? And she said, well, because what we tend to find is that if the responses we get are very much tied to the outcome of the complaint, which is actually, as we talked about a little later, wholly wrong. And certainly a lot of the research that we've done over the last 12 months or so across a huge range of customers from banks, mutuals, challenger banks, pillar banks, etc., indicate that's not the case. So going back to my first point, the open channel piece is so very, very important. And almost from a regulatory perspective, we're seeing that demand in the market. We're seeing the regulator, more than any other piece of information, as to how financial service firms are meeting their conduct obligations. It's all about, in my view and in their view, getting customer feedback and understanding where it's come from. Turning the paradigm round to be all about, let's hear it from the customer, very much endorsing where Martin was coming from. The only other thing I think I would raise at this point is very much around the concept of fairness. I think fairness is, without doubt, the hallmark, the foundation of how we need to deal with the customers. And indeed, it has been that way for a long time. While I've been in the industry 23 years, I've really dealt in the conduct space since 2003-04, when the then FSA started to think about TCF and how that would apply, and the conundrums that financial service firms had actually putting fairness into their operation. And I just draw on again some recent research that we've undertaken, which says fairness still remains one of the two critical questions that, if you get it right in responses, lead to a very positively satisfied customer. However, the other question is around caring. So what we tend to find is if you get a high score for both fairness and caring, as an organisation in the complaint space, you are leaving more satisfied customers, very satisfied customers, than any other part of the process, if you like. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Paul. We want to be fair and caring and give you all a chance to have your say too. So with that, can I ask for questions from the floor, please?